Good afternoon. Welcome to the Latino Coalition MatchPoint's fourth edition of our webinar series. TLC MatchPoint is made possible by our presenting sponsor, Wells Fargo. Please welcome Cece Rojas, TLC MatchPoint Executive Director.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Latino Coalition's webinar series for our new procurement portal, MatchPoint. We especially want to thank our partner organization, the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Julian Canete for their support of MatchPoint. The California Latino Chamber of Commerce is an innovative statewide chamber that is an effective advocate and resource for the small business community in California and nationally. We have had 3 informational webinars since our launch a few months ago. One focused on how to successfully register and navigate the site, another featuring the new CEO of SCORE and the importance of mentoring, and the most recent, a procurement panel discussion with 2 procurement executives for effective tips in your small business and in your preparation. Today, we are excited to continue to provide important information for you as you seek resources and programming to assist you in your small business. As a reminder, TLC MatchPoint is free to small business owners and will allow you to create a profile with all of your important information, certifications, and you can upload your marketing material. Our many corporate partners are regularly searching our database to find potential suppliers for projects that they are sourcing for. Now, if you are not registered, then they cannot find you. So please go to our website at tlcmatchpoint.com to register today. It's free of charge. To complement the MatchPoint portal, we continue to offer informational webinars, and to that end, we welcome moderator Julian Canete and panelists Luis Rosa and Monica Perraza. All 3 have extensive experience in coaching and running small businesses, both in good and challenging times such as these. We are anxious that they will share their best practices with you today. And to kick us off, I will turn it over to the Latino Coalition Chairman, Hector Barreto, to provide remarks and to introduce our moderator. Hector?
Thank you, Cece, and thanks everybody for joining us today. We're very excited about the presentation that we're getting ready to hear and learn from. And I just wanted to give a little bit of background. And a number of folks that follow us know about the history of Latino Coalition, but we've been around for over 26 years. And really what our mission has always been is to not only represent and advocate on behalf of our small businesses, but also to help them access the tools that they need to succeed. Some of you have heard me refer to them as the 3 C's: capital, capacity building, and contracts. And there's always a little bit of everything in the presentations that you'll hear, but we want to pay particular attention to how do we access more business through contracts for our small businesses. It was already mentioned, but I want to join my voice in thanking our corporate sponsor and really the impetus behind us being able to offer MatchPoint. And of course, I'm talking about Wells Fargo and our friends there like Jenny Flores, Ruben Barrales, Regina Hayward, and many, many others. So I want to thank them for really stepping up to the plate and providing the resources for us to be able to bring you this valuable tool and this valuable program. As many of you know, we've been working on this for some time, but the importance of tools like MatchPoint only grow, especially during times of downturn or concern or emergency. And we're all living through some form of that right now through this incredible year of the pandemic and what it's done to our economy and what's done to a lot of small businesses. We want you to know that you're not alone. There are many, many others who are going through the same thing. And it's incumbent upon all of us to work together, to join arms and to help each other understand what's working, maybe what's not working, and what are some strategies for success. And I know that you're going to hear about that from our presenters today. Monica and Luis and Julian are all experts in their own way in the small business space. Sometimes when we do events, I tell folks is that, take advantage of their knowledge, of their wisdom, of their tips. If you had to pay for it, it would probably cost you collectively thousands of dollars an hour, and they're all volunteering their time to be able to help us. I mentioned Julian. Julian Canete is a close friend, and I'll properly introduce him here in just a second. But he and his organization are one of the many memorandums of understanding that the Latino Coalition has with a number of different business organizations. And as many of you know, not all of those are Hispanic business organizations. Not all of them are business organizations. Some of them are involved in healthcare, some of them involved in education. But our focus is always on economic empowerment, economic development. Those are always very, very important themes in the Hispanic community. One of the things that we're referencing as we do these webinars is that as we go through this process of coming out of this downturn, of this pandemic that none of us could have expected, it's important for us to not only respond, recover, to be resilient, and to, in some cases, reinvent the way that we do business. So I think you'll hear some of those themes touched upon today. One of the things that we've also learned during the pandemic is the importance of technology. It's more important than ever before. The relationships that we have and how we help people access those relationships, and how we work together to rebuild our businesses. And so not only in this webinar and the ones that we've had in the past, and by the way, you can access all of those on the MatchPoint website that CC referenced, so that if you didn't see one of the others and you'd like to, you can go on there and look at it, or share it with other friends. And please stay tuned for other upcoming webinars. I know that CC has some very important plans with regards to webinars in the future, focused on women-owned businesses, focused on some of our other corporate sponsors. So without any further delay, I'd like to formally introduce Julian Canete. And as many of you know, he's the president and CEO of the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce, one of the most important statewide Hispanic business organizations in the country, probably the largest. They represent a network of over 80 Hispanic chambers and business associations, and they're really a leading voice on the issues that are impacting businesses in California, but they're also very interested in network with many business organizations, Hispanic and others around the country. The mission of the CHCC is to foster economic growth, creating and sustaining prosperity, benefiting California's economy and communities. Julian previously served as the Director of Public Policy and Strategic Partnerships for the California Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, and then President and CEO of California Hispanic Chamber between 1999 and 2006, 2009, and 2012. So this is his third tour of duty for CHCC, and CHCC is fortunate to have his leadership. He is currently a member of the California Department of General Services, Small Business Advisory Board, Californians for Affordable and Reliable Energy Care, Caltrans Small Business Council, the California Secretary of State Voters' Choice Act Task Force, the SBDC Northern California Network Advisory Board, and the Calvet Foundation. And I'm sure many, many other leadership positions that he's had and currently has. So he is the right person at the right time to be our moderator for this edition of our matchmaking webinars. He's been a friend of ours for many years. He's been a consistent supporter of the Latino Coalition, and I especially appreciate his participation in our events in Washington, D.C. over the years. He always brings a group with him, and we're very thankful for not only his support and his leadership. I'm proud to call him a friend, and so without any further ado, I want to turn the podium or the microphone or the floor over to Julian. Julian, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Hector, for that very flattering introduction, and always I value our friendship and our partnership with the Latino Coalition. I do want to thank Cici Rojas also for all her hard work with MatchPoint and working with Hector and with the State Chamber of making sure that we're an active strategic partner. You know, you can always have strategic partners, but when you make sure they're active, it means so much more. And so we're proud of that relationship. You know, the State Hispanic Chamber has been bringing, you know, the issues, the problems, and the needs of Hispanic and Latino-owned businesses to the forefront, both on the statewide and the national agendas. You know, on the national side, you know, that's why it's so important for us to have the strategic relationship with the Latino Coalition, because that's who we, and and with other national organizations who we partner with to bring those issues to the forefront. So again, my thank you to Hector to always being there to support us, especially when we're talking on a national level. Over the last week, I have had the privilege of talking to many businesses. We're doing videos leading up to our annual conference here in October, and hearing those stories of how they've overcome not only COVID, but out here in California, other disasters, fires, etc., and just what they have to share with other businesses to be able to survive. But even more so, being inspirational in telling a story and telling them how to succeed, etc. And I think with our panelists today, that you'll find that in them as well. So I'm really excited about both our panelists that will present here in a few minutes. But again, a little bit about our strategic partnership and the MatchPoint, TLC MatchPoint. I do think that it's very important, and I'm encouraging all businesses out there, as I've done through our businesses here in California, to sign up for MatchPoint. You can never have too much help, right? And in today's age, to me, it's more about connectivity, right? And I think that's what MatchPoint does. It takes everything to a different level for all of you, and making that connection, just not on procurement, but with other entrepreneurs and other opportunities that are out there, like this, this webinar today, the fourth in a series, and again, connecting people with successful entrepreneurs, people that you can learn from, but also a system where you can be in contact with those opportunities, contract opportunities, corporate representatives, etc. So I cannot do enough to encourage you to sign up. It's actually pretty simple. I've done it just to test it out, and it's like, I think, and congratulations to the TLC team. I mean, I think it took me all of 5 minutes to complete the process, if that. So again, an important tool I think that every business moving forward needs to have in their toolkit, so to speak. So again, make sure you go and sign up for TLCmatchpoint.com and sign up, not right now because we've got some speakers coming up, but after the webinar. So with that, I want to go on to our panel. I'll begin first by introducing Luis Rosa. He's a certified financial planner and founder of Build a Better Financial Future, LLC. He came to the United States at age 11 from the Dominican Republic. Growing up in New York City, he noticed the lack of financial literacy in his community and was inspired by his parents to work hard and pursue an education. He founded Build a Better Financial Future, LLC, and is host on My Way to Wealth podcast. Luis was named one of Investment News 40 Under 40 in 2019 and Financial Advisor magazine's 10 Young Advisors to Watch. From participating as a Financial Planning Association Next Gen Ambassador to host to speaking at the Certified Financial Planners Board's Diversity Summit. Luis uses his platform to help spread financial literacy, as well as encourage younger and diverse planners to join and thrive in the industry. And now I'd like to introduce our second panelist, Monica Perraza O'Quigley. She's co-CEO and co-founder. Hold on, I'm going here. So she was born and raised in Mexico City. Monica is a serial social entrepreneur, founding 5 companies and 2 nonprofits to date. She founded and managed 2 successful businesses in Mexico City before moving to New York City in 1997 and found Dalma Imports, which brought high-end Mexican products to wholesale markets in the United States and Canada. In 2005, Monica moved to Austin, Texas, where she founded 2 nonprofits while envisioning her 4th company, Algera.com, with Algera's mission to become the largest marketplace of female designers and artisans in the world, Monica merged her company with Sydney Sherman's Fair.shop to found the Ethos in 2019. Monica has actively shaped Austin's nonprofit community through her passion for education and mentorship. She became the chair of the Hispanic Alliance in 2014 when two organizations merged, and spearheaded a program to provide Hispanic female entrepreneurs with the tools they need to start and expand their businesses. She currently serves as co-chair of the Authentic Mexico Gala, an annual fundraising event for the Hispanic Alliance that has grown to become one of the top celebrations of authentic Mexican cuisine in the United States. She joined the board of trustees of the Joe R. and Teresa Lozano Long Center for the Performing Arts in September of 2011, and she was voted chair-elect in 2016. She became the first Hispanic woman to ever chair a major arts board in Austin in 2018. So with that, I'd like to welcome Luis and Monica. Welcome to the webinar, and thank you for taking the time today to be here. We're in an unusual business environment that we're living in today. The pandemic has forced small business to reinvent themselves in ways they may not have thought about just a mere 6 months ago. While the pandemic has certainly been challenging and for some actually devastating, it has also presented unique opportunities for many small businesses to refocus, get back to basics, and pivot to serving the needs of the new normal. Our two panelists with us today have each successfully shifted their business model to not only sustain, but grow. So I want to get started here. I want to start with Luis. So Luis, tell us about your business and how you got started.
Yeah, thank you, Julian, and thank you, TLC MatchPoint and the Latino Coalition for this opportunity. It's an honor for me to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Rosa. I'm a certified financial planner professional, and I have my own financial planning and investment management firm. It's called Build a Better Financial Future. You can visit at buildabetterfinancialfuture.com. I also have a podcast where I speak about personal finance. It's called On My Way to Wealth. And you can find it at onmywaytowealth.com and also on all major podcasting platforms. I started working as a financial planner right out of college about 20 years ago. So I'm dating myself a little bit. And I noticed that there was a lack of access and affordability, especially in the Latino population. Like when I was growing up, I didn't even know what a financial planner was or did. Nobody in my family ever had a financial planner, even owned the stock, right? So it's not something that was talked about. And, there's already a crisis in the United States when it comes to retirement. According to Unidos US, only 31% of Latinos participate in a employer-sponsored retirement plan, like a 401k, compared to 48% of all of the workers. So I feel like lack of access and affordability is that problem. And that's one of the major reasons why I started my company. So my mission is to help Latinos bridge that gap and create transgenerational wealth, because I feel like a lot of the times each generation just starts from scratch with nothing left behind, if any, from the previous generation. So that is what I do in a nutshell. Thank you. And again, it's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you, Luis. And I want to go to Monica and the same question, I'd like to have you tell a little bit about your business and how you got started.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, CC and Nectar, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. And so the Ethos was started when my business partner and I decided that we needed to come to put our talents together and create a company that will give access to markets to 100 million women across the globe by 2030. Research has shown that women makers who make high-end products, what they really need is people that pay fair price for the products. And usually in their environments, there's not that kind of customers. So the access to market is something that will enable them to thrive and to be able to increase sales in the business. And we do that through an ethical verification process that we measure that every single brand of the Ethos is paying fair wages, has safe working conditions for women, and is keeping environmental sustainable practices. By doing those things, they're able to be on our marketplace, and then we promote them and give them access to markets. We're a technology company because we're building a SaaS platform, plus our IP, that is the verification process. But we have an e-commerce component with 2 marketplaces. So this is what I am focused on right now. It's a purpose of mine and a passion of mine, of the empowerment of women. And the Ethos, it's the best vehicle for me to be able to do that.
Great, thank you, Monica. Continuing with you, Monica, what was your first reaction when the impact and reality of the pandemic set in and started to affect the normal course of business here in the United States?
Well, the good news is that we are a virtual team. So we have people all over the world working for us. So we didn't have to start doing things as other people that had offices and start to organize that process of where they were going to work and working from home and all of that. But still, it was a totally different reality for us, because we were raising a bridge round to the A round, and our A round investors are in different countries. So the fact that I could not travel and meet with them, it was the first roadblock that we encountered. If we were not going to be able to meet with them, then meetings were going to be delayed. And when meetings get delayed, funding gets delayed. And that is a huge stress on the founders and on the company. So that was the first thing that we saw in the horizon. The second thing is we had to divert from fundraising into applying for the PPP and the EIDL loan, and getting those in to give us more runway to reinitiate our fundraising efforts, which was huge for a startup, because the Ethos was launched in October of last year.
Yeah, oh, excellent. And Luis, your reaction of the impact of the pandemic and how you see it started to affect the normal course of business.
Yeah, my first reaction was thinking about my clients. In my particular business, I happen to manage people's assets. So you could imagine how panicked people were, just seeing their portfolios and the life savings just significantly be reduced in a short amount of time. And although some people have seen that before, right, like 2008, it's still, you never get used to it. So my initial reaction was to be proactive and start calling all of my clients, put myself in their shoes and say, what is going through their minds? Let me not wait for the panic phone calls. Rather, I'm going to reach out to them and see how they're doing, telling them what I'm doing about it, what's happening in the market, and then just keep them informed. You'll be surprised the impact that you can have just by a simple phone call, just reaching out, say, hey, how are you? How are you dealing with this? Do you still have your job? And then you uncover things. Oh yeah, my wife still has her job, but she's, got reduced pay 25%. And then you get planning opportunities around that. So in times like these, you hear about the California fires going on. The fire department is running towards the fire, right? And this is our time as business owners to run towards our fire. This is our version. Anybody can take care of our clients in good times, So this is the time for us to show our clients what it is that we do best and why they chose us in the first place. So initially, that's what I thought, was just let me not react, let me be proactive in my business.
Luis, for what you do, it's important, right? Because, people, it's all about wealth creation, especially in the Hispanic communities, Latino communities, is creating that wealth and holding on to it. Like you mentioned, people are losing their jobs and, are they able still to maintain that income and that financial status that they have? And they're wanting to hang on to their cash reserves, maybe not invest because they get fearful. What kind of things did you do to shift your business model in working with your clients?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was one of the main focus for people I found, is like they definitely wanted to hang on to their cash reserves. So I switched my business model, kind of like Monica, in a sense. I've been running a mostly virtual practice anyway. My financial planning practice serves physical one-on-one clients where I live currently in Las Vegas, but I do have a virtual practice where I work with people from all over the country. But I had to expand that service. Now I'm doing Zoom calls with like people in their 70s, almost 80 years old that had never used the technology. So I had to adapt, make longer appointments to give leeway for those technical glitches, be more patient, have more follow-ups. And then just have very detailed emails that here's how you log into a Zoom meeting. Here's how you can upload your PDF documents to me. So I had to shift in that sense, where basically I had to just expand what I was already doing to people that normally wouldn't engage me in that way. But, I've seen my doctor virtually recently. I spoke to my attorney virtually. There's a way of doing it. Obviously, it's harder for brick and mortar. So I'm sure we'll get to speak a little bit more about that. But where there's a will, there's a way, for sure.
Right. Monica, the retail business, especially bricks and mortar, I mean, government just shut us down, right? They were forced to close and people couldn't come in and visit or anything. How did you communicate with customers, and what were some of the strategies that you used to start driving that online traffic in your business?
So the beauty is that we're in e-commerce, and e-commerce is one of the businesses that have thrived through these times. What we did is the focus of the Ethos is telling the stories of all these makers across the globe, because we connect them with ethical shoppers, people that know when they buy a product, they're making a real difference in someone's lives. These women are supporting their families, and sales is what supports them. So the main pivot we did is, instead of us telling the story of these makers, we're letting the makers tell their own story. So they connect directly. We found out that the least barriers between them and the consumer, it's the better for closing the sale. And we're a purpose-driven venture. We think a lot about how we're going to do things and the impact of what that's going to have. And that has resulted in a new thing that is called the things that Monica loves. So I do interviews with all these makers, and I ask them, how did you start your business? How do you design your collection? So it's a heart-to-heart conversation with them that we share with all our buyers.
So I just want to expand on that a little bit, or ask you an additional question. So by doing that in your business, did you see a substantial increase in sales and revenues?
We're seeing a substantial increase in engagement that leads to sales. They engage more in all our social media and all our organic traffic, and then that converts into sales. Yes. It's not immediate, but it's the result of.
Yeah. I think it was, something I got both from you and Luis while we were talking here is that, even though we're virtual and on Zoom, that there was the need, the successful part of what you guys have been doing is trying to make that much more personable, right? And much more, since we can't be in person, how do we make this more personable and use that to increase our sales and stay in contact with our customers. Anything either one of you want to add to that? Luis first.
I just want to say that in normal times, using Zoom to promote something or to do an interview wouldn't be the best marketing strategy. But we all need to think that we're living in not normal times. There is this new reality called the novel economy. And in this novel economy, it doesn't matter that it's on Zoom. The initial phase was kind of slow. Everybody was getting used to. And I have Zoom calls with funders in other countries, and the initial conversations were not as fluid as they're now. By now, everybody's used to that this is the way to do business. So I just want to encourage everyone who's listening not to be afraid and just go and do it the way you used to do it, but now do it through the video conferences.
Luis, anything you want to add about making Zoom more personal to help your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I did, it goes back to being proactive, was in addition to individually calling every client, right? I was putting out relevant, timely content on social media, also via email, on my blog, and I was doing webinars. So to give you an example, I said, you know what, the CARES Act came out. Let me have a webinar done about that. So every communication with the client doesn't have to be about a potential transaction. I made it about them. I said, look, the CARES Act just came out. Here's what the stimulus. Here's what the stimulus is. Here's who qualifies. Here's how you can check to see if you're getting a refund check or not. For small business owners, here's what the Paycheck Protection Program means. Here's how you qualify. Here's the website for you to apply. The emergency economic injury disaster loan. I mean, all this kind of relevant information that people really needed in real time. You can qualify possibly for a mortgage forbearance. There's an order where you can postpone your student loan payments until the end of September at the time, not through the end of the year. So just putting out relevant content that people needed and not making it about just my business. It was about them first and just providing information. Then here's what I feel like you should be doing right now and focusing on so that you can thrive in this environment.
Yeah, great concept, because, I always say that, when you do a webinar or some session, you don't have to do a sales job, right? If you gave them good information, they're going to remember who gave it to them, and that's who they're going to call. So good point.
Absolutely.
Luis, you're a pretty young guy, at least compared to me. You're young, extremely young. And so you've just started off on your business journey, on this journey. And what I'd like to know is, what are one or two of the most important lessons that you have learned so far?
Yeah, well, the two things I want to share. One was communication, like we were talking about. Clients want to know the good, the bad, but also what you're doing, right? Because like we were saying before, even if you have a brick and mortar company, there are ways that you can still provide your service depending on where you are, right? If they allow you to open at 50% capacity, et cetera. There are restaurants here that are doing curbside pickup, and I just saw a commercial last night for a windshield replacement company that has contactless, where you can just call them and they come in and fix your windshield right from your driveway without you ever speaking to the tech, right? So communicate. This is exactly what we're doing. You can still come to our shop, whatever it is, and do it in a safe manner. And this is exactly how it's done, via your social media, email. If you have their phone numbers, call them up and say, this is what we're doing to still help you, right? Let them know you're still there. Number two is adaptability. The only thing that's constant is change in this world, so I tell people, don't be Blockbuster. If anybody here remembers Blockbuster, I'm a little bit, I'm 41 almost, but I used to go and rent videos at Blockbuster, right? Then Netflix came out. Netflix actually reached out to Blockbuster and told them, you can buy us for $50 million. And the CEO passed because they didn't see it as a thriving business. They just saw it as a small niche, right? And they also didn't go into the streaming services themselves. Now, I'm sure that somewhere that CEO is not too happy about that decision. So what I mean by that is, don't be Blockbuster. There are things that were a thing of the past. This is the new way of doing things. Don't be stubborn about it. Just adapt with the times. There's a way that you can still provide your services and your product and just adapt to the changes. So just don't be stagnant in that regard. Just try to do better, to think outside the box.
Monica, I was when I was reading your resume, I was extremely impressed. The fact that you did business in Mexico and were successful there, and then you decided to come to the United States, and immediately you were successful, right? And that says a lot about an individual, right? To be able to uproot from one home to start another one. And the question is similar to Luis's, but again, two of the most important lessons you have learned from being in business, and I think your answer is especially important to everybody because of like I said, you've been in Mexico, done business, and then you came to the U.S. So it's almost like I did a business, ended it, and started again. So what are two of the most important lessons that you would like to share with everybody?
Well, my two lessons would be, number one, be very clear on your vision. What do you want to accomplish through that business? And then have the flexibility. So you're going that way, but that way is not always a straight line. You can take some curves and just flow to get where you want to go. That is crucial in business. And right now, it's a double crucial thing because you need to learn to be flexible. I was seeing at this news program where one of the best restaurants in New York City, they were preparing these bags with wines depending on the taste of the clients that order them. So they will deliver food and then a bag with 6 wines that they will have for the next 2 weeks or whatever. That's flexibility. You know, they couldn't sell at the bar, and we all know that the restaurants make the most amount of money on alcohol. Well, they decided, okay, we're going to sell the alcohol, we're going to sell it differently. The second thing for me, and that is where chambers and the Latino Coalition and entities like that are crucial. Your network is everything. So there's a quote that says that your net value is the value of your network. Who you surround with, who do you know? And in this crisis, you know, I met Hector at the Aspen Institute Latinos in Society program. I know people from my Stanford Latinos program that I reach out. He processes our PPP. Be very mindful of that. I know that right now we cannot go to reunions or conference or whatever, but there is ways to keep the networking going. And all of you guys are innovating a lot of how your members can network. Don't think that networking is a waste of time. The value of networking is priceless.
Thank you. You know, both of you are just inspirations, I believe, to everybody that's online and even those that aren't. And I appreciate and thank you for what you shared, because I think what you guys shared were some very salient points and important messages of, you know, how to get through this pandemic, how to even grow your business once we're out of it. So what I really want to give both Luis and Monica, give you guys a chance to do is what is a piece of advice for the audience who are struggling to stay in business that you would give them? You know, and we're talking about maybe they're still struggling. They haven't got all the help they need. So what would you tell them if you were sitting down with them? What would you tell them, Monica? What would you say to someone?
Well, my advice to them is, it's towards what I've been talking about. Have the flexibility to adapt your business to the new reality. There is a new reality, and you cannot say, okay, I'm going to wait 3 months for the old times to come. You can't afford to do that. So envision, how can you adapt your business to that? And pivot. Pivot is not a very complicated thing, or it's not very costly. You can pivot your business in a way that you serve that needing market. So every business success is based on how you are solving the pain in the market. There is a lot of pain in the market right now. You just need to align it to what your business is and solve it. And that might be even a best business transaction than the ones you were making before. Just a matter of being mindful and aware of what the new reality is.
You know, Luis, the same question. You know, what piece of advice would you give? I mean, you know, you're in the financial services side of things. You know, wealth creation, and so many businesses so often forget that an individual like you needs to be part of their business planning process, right? And so many of our businesses forget that, right? But what piece of advice would you give maybe a business, like I said, a business that's still struggling out there to get over these crises that we're facing?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, one of the things like Monica was saying, you don't need to figure it all out on your own. I mean, one great benefit I've gotten, like, for example, joining the chamber, I happen to be a member of the Las Vegas Latin Chamber of Commerce. There are resources out there. You know, don't think of your chambers as just a place for you to go hand out business cards. there are so many other things that they can help you with. I'll give you an example. Like in my case, when I was registering for a specific license, Peter Guzman, the president of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, he put me in touch with somebody at the office of exactly who I needed to speak with that I probably wouldn't have had the access to, and other resources, like always pushing out content about paycheck protection programs and other local programs that might exist that you probably don't even know about, that might be specifically geared to small businesses, right? So don't figure it all out on your own. Also, that goes for your clients. Maybe you don't have all the answers, but you can always ask them. They know better. And then think outside the box, so you can host you can have like a survey monkey, for example. Just send out a survey asking people questions, how can we better help you? What do you feel right now we need to change, et cetera, right? But just to give you an example, like Monica was saying, like think outside the box. I've seen so many examples of, I saw a dentist that can't see people physically yet, but she's selling like prepaid cleanings, so people can buy it at 20% discount and then they'll schedule it for next year. There's a way out there. If you're a restaurant or a bar, maybe host a virtual happy hour and show people how to make sangrias, and maybe you can sell them the wine to make the sangria. They could just go and pick it up contactless. Like there is a way. So don't get too stuck in the old way of doing business. Think outside the box. So remain flexible. And then I'm going to put on my financial planner hat on. And I've been telling a lot of people let's figure out a way so that if this ever happens again, you have enough cash reserves to weather the storm. There's a lot of people that have been able to take advantage of certain programs like mortgage forbearance and student loan forbearance, and maybe they didn't need the full assistance, which is great because I tell people, you know what, if your mortgage payment was $2,500, now you don't have to make that payment for 6 months. Well, we can save that for the next 6 months. Make believe you're making a mortgage payment. Let's just increase your reserves so that the next time this happens, you have a bigger cushion. So those are the two things that I would say.
Well, I want to thank you both, Luis and Monica. The great thing about Latino and Latina entrepreneurs and business owners is that you all are always willing to share, right, and help other businesses there. And I think that speaks highly to our business owners out there. And again, you guys all mentioned about asking for help. You just have to ask. And again, everybody that's with us today, this is why TLC MatchPoint is so important, right? Webinars like this one to give you information and to share information, but also, like I said, the connection. So if you haven't signed up yet, after we're done with this webinar, make sure you sign up. But again, thank you, Luis and Monica, for being with us. Thank you guys for sharing and really helping educate our business owners throughout the country. And with that, I'll turn it back to Cece. We'll take Q&A, I believe, and Cece will manage that. So Cece.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julian.
Hello, thank you very much. That was really, really good stuff. I think you both hit on a couple of some real nuggets of information that people will be able to use. So thank you for that. I do, if anybody has a question, there's a chat box. So please feel free to put your questions there. We have a few minutes, and I do want to open up I do have one question that I'd like to ask both panelists and even Julian for you, but you all touched on some great strategies, especially as it relates to the retention of your current clients, your clientele. You touch base with them. You have been able to be flexible, like Luis, you talked about, having to spend more time and be very thorough in the information that you send out to your maybe older customers who may not, or clients who may not know how to use new technology. I think that's the new normal for everyone. But talk a little bit about how you would prospect for a new client. I mean, that's hard without the face-to-face, the in-person networking, but business is still going to get done and people are still going to go out and find, and have to find new clients and keep that pipeline full. So any tips you might have for the audience for prospecting for new business? Luis, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like just use tools like Zoom to your advantage, and think of it this way, it doesn't have to be a sales pitch, right? But I feel like Julian was saying, if you're giving good enough information, they're going to remember who gave it to them. So, do something that is related to your industry without necessarily selling something. So a restaurant can show, hey, this is how we make our signature dish. A bar can have a happy hour. something to that extent. Where and if you're in the services business, like a law firm or financial planner, et cetera, just host something that is relevant to today. You could talk about things that your clients in particular can do to thrive and survive during this transition, right? And then eventually it'll attract business. So I think webinars are a really good way of doing it, combined with social media as well. Just continuing to be out there, because out of sight, out of mind, right? So always put out that content. And eventually, I feel like that's one way that I've been able to continue to have that engagement, and like Monica was saying, it's not necessarily immediate, right? So it's not like I'm not going to do a webinar and then have 30 clients the next week, right? But you get to engage them, and maybe they'll give you their email address and stay on your newsletter list or something like that. And you never know what that may turn into.
Excellent. Monica, same question for you.
Well, I think what Luis was saying is brilliant. It's be in touch with them and see what are the channels you can be in touch. And then through social media, you're going to get new followers, you're going to get new people and engage them. The best tactic always is give value before you sell anything. So be mindful that you're going to have to create different things. Like Luis was saying, if you're a restaurant, do these webinars and you share recipes, you can cook. It's going to be about them. And then you can say, by the way, I'm making this every Friday, who wants to order it or whatever it is. So the value given is very important. The second thing that I will advise everyone is to have a cadence. So let's say you're going to do a webinar. How often are you going to do that? Don't do it every time you panic because your sales is down. Do it on a weekly basis on a certain day and get your audience ready to receive that. And then you'll see how that converts to sales. And the crisis might be over, pandemic might be over, and you might keep doing the webinars because it might be a great tool to get, because if I'm watching this amazing class, I'm going to tell my friends. So those are the new customers that are going to come. Remember that word of mouth is one of the biggest values you can get from any of your clients.
Julian, I'm going to ask you the same question because
Sure.
You're selling the chamber. I remember those days. I mean, you have clients too.
When this all hit, we really looked at it and said, how do we deliver services differently, right? And get everybody engaged and get them on. So there was, in our office, there was a lot of thinking around kind of out of the box. What can we do? Especially our members. Now we have a little captive audience, right? Because we've got their emails, et cetera. But I think, Luis and Monica hit on it, right? It's like thinking out of the box now, right? Doing things a little bit differently. And I'll tell you what some of our members have been doing. I think that will be of more value. So I think one thing everybody should remember, and those of you that are online from Chicago, Mayor Manuel, who's Chief of Staff also for President Obama, he said one time, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? And that's what we're in, right? A crisis. And, you have opportunities now to do things a little differently because we're in technology. So, as Luis kind of alluded to is doing webinars, right? And doing things, but, don't think of just your clients and using them to expand it. But if you're a member of a chamber, right? You need to call the chamber and say, hey, what are you guys doing to help me? Because I want to do this webinar. I want to do this happy hour, just casual thing, talk about what I do and how I can help, and use your contacts with the chamber and get them your membership there, right? You pay a membership and use them. I mean, we help some of our members, locally, because the local chamber will say, hey, we've got this, member, they're doing this big webinar. Can we get them out statewide? Hey, we're on the social media, we'll do emails, but use those other resources to also get word out about what you're doing. If you're doing a webinar on financial planning, et cetera, and use them. And I think finally, the biggest thing is just still your network, right? Things like, go back to it, TLC MatchPoint, right?
Yes.
Perfect thing, right? You need to take advantage of those programs, of things like TLC MatchPoint, things that your chambers, your state chambers or your local chambers may have, or national organization may have in place for you to seek out new opportunities. So so I think those are some of the things, but I think that our businesses need to do. But again, like I said, chambers, we're a little bit more captive. We still have to get membership, right? And so we have to show them new value in what we're doing, especially with like our corporate partners, value through things like this online. So,
well, thank you very much, all of you, for your time this afternoon. And I know I found it very beneficial, and I'm sure our audience has. And once again, I encourage everyone to go in and register for MatchPoint. And we have some really exciting things coming up with MatchPoint. We have a marketplace that will be a resource for all people that are subscribed. It will also have opportunities for discounts. So Monica may be calling you to see if we could offer a discount for all of the wonderful products that you're offering on your website for people that visit. But we will have our corporate partners as well that have already reached out and would like to be able to promote some small business resources and products and services to all of the folks that are registered. And we also have our upcoming event that is October 20th, and it will be in celebration of National Women's Business Week. And we will have a selection of some very interesting and successful Latinas, much like we have with Monica, that will be our panelists. And we have hopefully someone from the White House will be on as well. So we have lots to look forward to. We have many other sessions that we're in the process of planning. We have lots of other types of services that we'll be offering through MatchPoint. So please register, go online, it's free, and take advantage of all the products that will be there for you. And we do have a slide, if it's not up already, but TLC MatchPoint, www.tlcmatchpoint is the website. We also will be communicating with everybody on a bi-weekly basis with many types of other events like ours, like Julian has this convention coming up, and many other types of those kinds of things that for other great webinars and information. And there's also a slide that will direct you to Jasmine Thompson, who is our coordinator, that can answer some questions for you as it relates to not just TLC MatchPoint, but to the Latino Coalition as well. I want to thank our production team today. And you guys did a fantastic job, and I hope to see everyone soon. So thank you for your time today, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.